as Celeste's family desperately searches for her. She is trapped by a werewolf family, forced to accept a mate relationship she doesn't yet understand. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The Pax Alpha insists that Celeste is his destined one, but she doubts it. Enthusiasm, in this world filled with supernatural forces, can't Celeste find her way home, or will she be bound by the family's rules and secrets? Join our pack. Subscribe to start your adventure. Chapter 13, Charlotte's POV. When I woke up the day that Celeste disappeared, everything felt normal. The room was chilly like it usually was every morning, and I could hear the sound of birds chirping outside my window. The faint smell of breakfast cooking from kitchen had me on my feet and heading towards my sister's room. Celeste loves doing my hair. Back home, our mornings began with me barging into her room like nobody's business and telling her about the plans I'm having with my friends. And while I do that, she'd style my hair the way I wanted. I thought about asking her to put my hair up in a fist state, but when I entered her room she wasn't there. Her window was open and the curtains were fluttering wildly from the breeze outside. I walked up to the windowsill and locked it. Thinking maybe she got up earlier, I walked down to the kitchen and found where everyone's sitting on the dining room table. "Where's Celeste?" I asked Mom. "Isn't she still sleeping?" I shook my head. "She wasn't in her room. Maybe she's doing her business," Grant said, plopping her jam sandwich into her mouth. "Business?" Trent cringed. Gran rolled her eyes. "I swear, boy, are you really my grandson? Blockheads don't run in my family." She lightly hit him with her cane on the back of his knee. Trent pushed his chair back and sent Gran a glare. "Don't stare at me like that. Business means, you know, whiz, pee, tinkle, take a leak. Or if it's the other one, dump, shit, crap, mother. You can't Trent like that. And don't say those words, not while we're eating." Mom placed a pitcher of orange juice in front of her in the table. "You're a nurse, Trace. I thought you had a tough gut for that kind of stuff." I changed topic before another argument between them happened. "So what are we planning to do today?" We were almost finished with breakfast when Mom grew suspicious about Celeste's whereabouts too. "Celeste hasn't come down yet. She probably got lost," Trent joked. I hit him on the shoulder and glared. A bad feeling made the pit of my stomach churn, which was never a good sign. "Wyatt." Gran called for her butler. He came running without a sweat. "Yes, ma'am." "Have you seen my granddaughter?" His eyes looked at me and Gran caught it. "The older one, not Charlotte. Celeste." "No, ma'am. I didn't see her since I arrived here this morning at 5 a.m. He bowed and dismissed himself. Worry turned into fear. Maybe we should look for her. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Already walking up the stairs and into her room. We searched and searched, from every nook and cranny of Gran's humongous house. Gran was out of her mind searching for Celeste in her freezer and cabinets. Trent checked the basement and the cellar. Wyatt looked around the perimeter of the house. Mom and I searched all the rooms. We can't find her anywhere. At this point, Mom was frantic and her hands were shaking. She was almost in the verge of tears. Mom didn't refuse Gran when she comforted her with a hug. Trent held my hand as I wept at the sight of Mom breaking down, the same way she did when died. It broke my heart watching her react that way again. I was too young when Dad died to really understand what had happened at first. But now, I'm old enough to know what the situation entailed. My sister is gone. She couldn't have run away. There was no reason for her to run away. She would have told me. She tells me everything. Or does she? There was only one explanation in my head that seemed realistic enough. Celeste was kidnapped. We called the police and were told to wait 24 hours before calling for a missing person. Their response caused Mom to rush over to the police station, driving 100 mph down the mountain. We burst into the station, marching past everyone who told us not to cross some stupid white line. Mom demanded to be assisted at once. We explained to all available police that we couldn't find my sister. Their response was the same as the person on the phone. Mom went ballistic and she nearly did something that could have gotten her into jail. Last night was the taking, one police officer pointed out. It's not unusual for someone to go missing on an eclipse night. Gran's eyes widened. That's right. Oh dear. My granddaughter was taken. She sounded both excited and alarmed. My granddaughter was taken. She repeated it again, sad this time. We don't have time for your silly stories, Mother. Can't you see? My child is missing. Mom went up to the cop, her face nearly an inch from his face. You're going to just accept that fantasy story and do nothing about my daughter possibly being kidnapped? Ma'am, please calm. Mom pointed her finger at the cop and glared at him. Tell me to calm down one more time and... I took her hand in mine before she would regretted the words coming out of her mouth. Officer Harvey. Trent stepped forward, facing the cop reading his nameplate. Do you have kids? Officer Harvey nodded. 2 girls. Do you love your kids? Officer Harvey looked offended. Boy, you have some nerve. Do you love your kids? Trent repeated again, this time in a loud tone. His voice cracked. I noticed and could feel his emotions tainting each word. Trent's fist clenched tight and I could see his veins protruding down his arms. Damn, Gran whistled. Defiantly my blood. No doubt about that. For the first time I realized how big my little brother had become. He was almost as tall as Celeste now and the muscles on his back were significantly developing. Why hadn't I noticed that before? I've only seen him as my little brother, so I guess that's why. Yes, I love my kids. Officer Harvey responded. Trent lifted his chin. So wouldn't you be going out of your mind if one of your kids were missing? Officer Harvey gulped. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I would. The man knew he was bested. But, I'm sorry. I can't help you at this time. You have to understand how our system works. We can't file a missing persons case until 24 hours has passed. Screw you. Trent shouted. My sister is missing and she could be dead by that time. Mom gasped and her knees collapsed. Trent, I yelled. He went too far. I clasped my arms around his waist, holding him back in case he attempted to hit an officer. He was physically trembling, and for a faint second as my ear was pressed to his back, I thought I heard a snarl. What's going on in here? Leonardo stormed into the station. He looked like he had just recently gone for a run. His checks were flushed and clutched within his hand was a rock. What was he doing with a rock? Theo, I'm so glad you are here. Mom rushed to his side immediately. What is it? What happened? He looked concerned. Was it just me, or did he look overly concerned? As if he was faking his reaction, but maybe I was putting too much thought into his expression. Mom collapsed into his side, pulling him to the mean cop's direction. If you have the authority to fire him, do it. Officer Harvey frowned. So I didn't do anything wrong. It was so weird hearing an older gentleman call someone as young as Leonardo a sir. Well, hold up now. I can't fire anyone until I have a good reason to. Lee held one hand up. Celeste is missing. Mom cried. We can't find her anywhere, but we think she was taken. Gran added. Mom glared at Gran. Can you please stop talking about that silly story and focus on what's important? Leo's brow curved up. Celeste is missing. There was something odd about the way he responded. Are you sure she didn't go off wandering on her own around town? My sister would not do that. Celeste always tells us where she goes before she goes anywhere, Trent said, huh? Theo clutched his chin like a detective solving a mystery to a crime. Let me check out the town. I'll ride around on my motorcycle and see if I can find her. I'll call my parents. Maybe they can help find her. Oh, thank you. Mom hugged him. By the end of the day, there was still no sign of Celeste. Theo's parents meet us at Gran's house and Debbie comforted my mom as she cried. Vincent didn't tag along with his parents, much to my surprise. His dad said that Vincent felt sick and would have wanted to help out. I really hoped he were here, but Trent hadn't left my side all day. It was as if he was afraid he'd lost me too. My whole body was trembling, fearing what could have happened to Celeste. Is she safe? Is she okay? Is she alone? Is she alive? I didn't want to think the worst, but the thought kept lingering at the back of my head. I told myself it was too early to be thinking that I remembered what I saw in the morning. Her window was open. I blurted out. When I came into her room, her window was open and she wasn't there. The news had Mom crying again. That night none of us slept. The next day, the police were involved, but from the look in their eyes and the sound of their voice, they already believed Celeste had no chance of being found. It was that stupid legend everyone believed in. I was furious that they had already given up. The whole town had Celeste's face stapled on every wall with the words missing underneath and our contact info. Townspeople were whispering about how Celeste was taken. People came to our house offering condolences as if my sister was dead. I wanted to punch all those people who left flowers on the front of our gate. It was completely rude. Gran made Wyatt shut the front gate and tell the visitors to respect our privacy and give us space. At one point Mom lashed out her anger. We shouldn't have come here. This is all your fault. You are completely fine, Mom accused Gran. You are as healthy as a horse. If we hadn't have come to this crazy town, my daughter would have been safe at home. Mom cried, clutching her tissue. Gran didn't say anything and slowly limped to the sofa by the window. Mom, don't blame Gran. You know this isn't really her fault. I told her. Mom's tear-streaked face was red and swollen. I know. I'm just really upset. I didn't mean to yell at her. I should apologize. Shouldn't I? Instead of asking me, you should go and do it right now. She looked at me and wept again. God, you sound so much like Celeste right now. Always so smart when she talked. I cried again when she said it. Mom, I groaned, holding back my tears. She engulfed me in a tight hug and dug her face into my hair. We'll get her back. We are not leaving here until we do. Trent was lying across the sofa near the fireplace staring at the ceiling. He's been stone as a statue like that since the other night. He spoke little words after the police station incident. His face has been blank most of the time, but his eyes told me he was concerned over Celeste too. Growing up, because Mom worked a lot of double shifts, Celeste was like his second mom. He and Celeste were close until he started growing up and become a teenage boy. He didn't include himself in our conversations like he did as a kid and preferred to sit alone with his music or cell phone. Are you okay? I asked him. He gazed at me once then turned away before answering. Do I look okay? You look tired. You don't look so bad yourself. I rolled my eyes and swatted his leg. Move over. He made space for me to sit next and I wrapped my arm around his, placing my head on his shoulder. Where do you think she is? I asked him. Most of the time, he would pull me off and complain about all the touchy-feely girly things that I rubbed off on him. This time, he accepted my sisterly love. If I knew, do you think I'd be here sitting with you? When we find her, I'm going to put itch powder all over her broad rule for making us worry like this. I chuckled. I'm going to tell Mom on you. That won't stop me. Don't go anywhere where I can't see both of you. Mom hovered over us. I don't think I'll survive if another one of you goes missing. She hugged us both in a tight snake-like hug. My ribs actually started to hurt from how tight it was. Did you say sorry to Gran? I asked her. The stubborn woman won't talk to me. She's giving me the silent treatment. You can try again tomorrow, I told her, giggling. Mom shrugged. Or maybe later tonight. I don't think I'll be able to sleep again tonight. Me neither. We can camp out in the living room again, Trent said. I can take out some blankets and pillows, so at least we don't have to sleep uncomfortably like last night. Mom whimpered. Remember how you kids would make forts using blankets and chairs? I would come home from work late and the three of you would be up playing your cute role plays. Gran appeared out of nowhere and sat down on Trent's side of the sofa away from Mom. I didn't get to see that. Tell me about your childhood. To pass time we shared memories of our childhood. We laughed. Tears were shed and Gran loved every bit of it. At around 2 a.m., I got up to get a glass of water. My throat was so constricted from all the crying. It would have been easier to have Wyatt get it, but his shifts usually end after dinner. I'll get some for you guys, I told them. Mom tiredly nodded. I had a feeling she was going to fall asleep soon. She hadn't slept for the past 24 hours. Or maybe more. Neither of us did. I'll go with you, Trent offered. It's okay, little bro. I can do it myself. I'll use to try to carry the glasses. He grumbled when I glared at him. He's acting overly protective lately. The kitchen was really dark when I got there. The lights were switched off and I immediately regretted not taking Trent up on his offer. If I returned now empty-handed, he would probably laugh at me. Celeste wasn't scared of the dark. Why should I? My sister could be out there facing something worse and I'm here scared of the dark. I'm pathetic. Don't be a coward, I told myself. I searched for the light switch but couldn't find it. I forgot where it was. Afraid of staying any longer, I decided to just get the water and get the hell out as quick as I can. The refrigerator had a water dispenser and the light switch was on. I could easily maneuver through my task without falling. To my relief, a tray was already on the counter, so I grabbed that and reached up the cabinet for glasses. Each glass was filled 3/4 of the way up, because I was fearful of spilling. Just when I was about to lift the tray, the door that led to the outside deck rattled. I paused on my feet and stared stunned. Oh my God, what was that? Doorknobs don't rattle like that unless someone tired opening it. Thank goodness the window blinds were closed. The person outside wasn't able to see me. Then I thought maybe it was Celeste. I slowly walked up the door and peeked through the peephole. My fingers presses against the door as I leaned down to get a better look. It was too dark to see. This door leads to the back porch. If there really was a person on the other side of this door, how did he get in the backyard? Maybe it's the wind. I find the light switch for the back porch and hesitate to turn it on. What the heck? I won't find out who it is unless I do it. Without another sec, and wasted, I flipped the switch and I was surprised to see Vincent. I exclaimed. My hand automatically unlocked the door without thinking. Stepping outside, I greet him with amazement. Vincent, what are you doing in my Gran's backyard in the middle of the night? He wore a pair of faded jeans and a button-down shirt, except it wasn't buttoned and his lean, muscular chest was on full display for me to see and drool over. It was so hard for me to keep my eyes on his handsome face. Charlotte, he muttered huskily. I'm sorry about your sister being missing. I heard from my brother. Vincent, aren't you sick? Shouldn't you be at home? I asked him worriedly. I reached out to touch him but he recoiled back. His face was twisted in what looked like pain. Are you okay? His hands fisted and he pushed them into his back pockets. I'm fine. Was that a growl I heard? Would you like to come inside? It's kind of cold. I touched his shoulder, hoping to usher him inside the house, but when I did I felt his shirt damp with sweat. Vincent, you're burning up, I exclaimed, his eyes wide, and then he covered my mouth with his palm. Shh, don't be so loud. We might get in trouble. Gross. He was sick and he's covering my mouth with his hand he most probably coughed on. I'm not sick. Removing his hand from my mouth. Then why are you so hot? A cocky grin plastered on his face. I'm glad you think so. I rolled my eyes. So you aren't sick? No, then why are you burning? I asked him, placing my hand on his damp forehead. I could feel the heat radiating off him in waves. It felt so much like a heater ice where I was being fried like chicken standing right next to him. It's nothing. Then suddenly he groaned and collapsed on his knees. He was whimpering in pain and his hands were wrapped around himself. Vincent. Oh my God. I'm going to get my mom. He grabbed my arm before I could run now. His hold had me on my knees with him, and because I was wearing shorts, my knees were dying from the wood. Charlotte, get back inside and lock the door. What? I can't leave you out here when you're obviously sick. Don't. Just go inside. I came here to make sure you were okay, but maybe this was a bad idea. Bad idea. What? I'm not leaving you. Go, he said between clenched teeth. Charlotte, please. I don't want to hurt you. You can't see this. I might, you have to leave. This is my first. He didn't get to finish his sentence, because before I knew it he ran and jumped off the porch. Vincent. I ran after him and down the stairs. The more I followed him, the further I got from the house. I was only wearing my indoor slippers and I didn't have a coat on. It was pretty cold, and by the time I stopped running, my teeth were clattering and my skin formed goosensed. Vincent, I called once more. After a few minutes, I didn't get a response back, so I thought he probably went back home. I wasn't done talking to him, but I intend to talk to him about this later. He had a lot of explaining to do. I was almost near the house when I felt someone grab me from behind and spin me to face them. A familiar face welcomed me with a bright dimpled smile. Vincent, you scared me. He didn't respond, but closed his arms around me in a hug. This was the first time he hugged me, and it felt nice. At first I was startled, but I warmed into it. What are you doing, Vincent? He shifted his head and I felt his soft lips graze my neck. You smell really good, Charlotte. A trail of shivers ran down my spine and back. Thanks. I gasped. Did he just lick me? Vince. Pain burned the side of my neck and my fingernails dug into his back. A scream exploded from my mouth, and before I knew it, I was limp in his arms. He clutched me like a newborn baby against his chest. Mine was the last thing I heard him say before he placed me on the forest ground. He took off his shirt and placed it over me to keep me warm. It didn't help much. I was still cold. Next, he got on the ground on all fours and tilted his head back, making a long and loud howl, like a wolf. My eyes began to droop as drowsiness kicked in. Vincent cringed forward. His back arched and his shoulders sagged. I watched stupefied as his whole body expanded, grew hair and morphed into a gigantic, horrific beast. He was still shifting when another animal, larger than himself, pounced on him from the side. The two creatures tumbled to the ground, snarling and barking. I didn't see what else happened because I lost consciousness. Chapter 14, Celeste. How many hits does it take to kill a werewolf? Let's find. Celeste, don't be hasty. My brother already knows what he did was wrong. Greyson, I will take care of this. Leo stands in front of his soon-to-be dead brother and my blood boils further. Vincent should take me like a man and not hide behind Leo like a coward. To my agent extraordinaire, Marlène Nilben, Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Your brother bit my sister. You think I wouldn't be pissed off? How would you feel if my sister bit your brother? He looked at me like, so what? You're G-men. They're hopeless. They'd probably have a drink over it like sick shit celebrating manhood. Lexi muttered under her breath. Her father scowled at her and she shrugged. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Face-palming myself, I groaned. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Forget what I said. Don't worry, Celeste. Charlotte will be fine. The bite will heal. Greyson assured, but the grim look on Bennett's face said there was more to that bite than Greyson lead on. What if my sister got rabies from him? My fist connected with Leo's chest. You better have him checked out. Leo grasped my fist into his, preventing it from beating anything, or anyone else. Greyson doesn't like that Leo hasn't let me go immediately and growls like an aggressive bulldog. I'm tempted to tell him, sit boy, but I don't. He might as well pee a circle around me to mark his territory. Vincent peeps over his brother's shoulder. I'm sore. Before he could finish that last word, I shoot daggers at him. Don't you dare apologize after what you did. When I'm through with you, all you can eat is wet dog food. Vincent staggers back in defeat and his fist tightened between his sides, avoiding my gaze. Greyson annoyingly wraps his arm around my waist and I jerk back in response, which makes him irate. What makes you think you can take on a newly turned werewolf? He asks me. If I don't try, how will I know I won't succeed? His response is a dry smirk. I love your enthusiasm, and I hate yours. You can practically hear the thunder between us as we face off. Leo clears his throat. Hate to break the love quarrel. This is not a quarrel. This is not a love quarrel. Greyson, I yell in unison. Leo rolls his eyes and crosses his arms over his chest. That was not a love quarrel, and I'm not done with him. I point at Vincent. Greyson groans. You're not going to lay a hand on him? Why is he too fragile? Afraid of hitting a girl? After the words slip out my mouth, Vincent lunges towards me like a snarling mad animal. I glimpsed at his eyes for 1 second, and all I could see was pure thoughtless murder. The blues in his eyes disappeared, and his pupils dilated into opal orbs. This boy was bent on killing me. Really kill me, and all the fight power I had earlier switched into cold hard fear. I screamed as his hands elongated into claws and were mere inches from gassing my face. Lexi, I heard Bennett yell just before I closed my eyes, and barks. Snarls. Cries and whimpers were made by what sounded like dogs. That was close. You really need to watch what you say sometimes. I swear, one of these days you might get yourself killed with that mouth of yours. And I thought I was bad. You were so much worse. Lexi had me shoved to the ground right before Vincent attacked me. When I opened my eyes, 3 humongous dogs were piled up over Vincent's thrashing body. What the hell just happened? My heart raced as adrenaline kicked through my system. Newly shifted wolves are unstable, that's why we keep them locked up for a while, until their wolves are fully controlled. Vincent's wolf got ticked off by what you said. Vincent can't suppress his wolf yet, so don't blame him for it. 2 of the dogs were about the same size. One had shinier black fur and the other looked a bit more majestic and older. The smallest of the 3 had sandy brown hair with a white face. It wasn't growling like the other 2. My guess would be that wolf was Leonardo. Is that Greyson? The dog with the shiny black fur reassembled Fluffy. Lexi nodded. Dad's the wolf that's graying. Bennett obviously heard her say, it because his head lifted and his pointed ears raised straight. Standing, I watched as Vincent screamed and snarled for release. He picked up my sound and his eyes darted at me. Let me go. I'll prove her wrong. I can take on a girl. He snarled and Fluffy hovered behind his ear, growling in warning. Vincent bowed unwillingly and submissively. Bennett made a thundering command and Vincent immediately went slack without a sign of complaint. Lexi asked me to keep my distance and give the guys room to work. Vincent's wolf considered your words earlier as challenge. Young pups are like temperamental teenage boys. Leo's wolf nudged Vincent's shoulder and Vincent feebly got up. I sucked in a breath when he looked at me over the shoulder. For a second, I thought he was going to attack me again, but to my surprise he gave me a remorseful expression. His eyes were not dilated anymore, but he looked physically exhausted. With all ounce of bravery I had left in me, I marched up to him and slapped him across the face. Lexi swore under her breath before she grabbed my arm. Are you crazy? Didn't hear anything I just told you. You can't piss him off when he isn't stable. Everyone looked absolutely horror-struck by what I just did. But shit, that felt good. If I couldn't kill him for what he did, at least it was enough to avenge my sister. Fluffy instantly placed himself between me and Vincent. He shoved his wet nose against my stomach as if reproaching me. Vincent touched his reddened cheek. All heads watched him warily of what he would do next. His fists fisted again and his shoulders tensed. I'm really going to die now. No one expected him to start laughing. Vincent clutched his stomach and burst out into tearful laughter. Oh God, I really needed that. He sighed in relief. Happy tears formed on the corner of his eyes and he wiped it with the back of his hand. Thanks, Celeste. Oh, okay. Sure. Anytime. I thoughtfully replied. If you need me to hit you again, I would happily do it. I showed him both my fists to express how keen I was to do it again. Vincent held his hand up. Once is okay. My wolf might kill you for it, and next time I might not be able to control him. He honestly thought he could hurt me and made a steps of safe space between us. I'm sorry for attempting to kill you. This wasn't a normal conversation, but nothing was ever normal in my life anymore. Sure. But biting my sister, apology not accepted. You're going to pay for that. He nodded in agreement. I know. Vincent really looked upset over it. He did have deep feelings for my sister and a part of me wanted to sympathize him. What the hell? Lexi shook her head in disbelief. How are you able to control yourself after she hit you? Vincent shrugged. I don't know. I just felt normal. Normal? She lifted her brow and cross-examined him from head to toe. Young pups such as yourself shouldn't be able to control themselves when slapped like that. And to test out her theory, she slapped him too. On the same cheek. The bomb went off. Vincent snarled and his teeth snapped together. His body posture-wide and his fingers extended with sharp-pointed nails. Now that's what I'm talking about, Lexi said before she pulled out a small object from her bucket and sprayed it on Vincent's face. Vincent retracted from the substance that covered his face. He recoiled to the ground and was on his hands and feet, screaming in pain. You shouldn't have done that. Bennett was back in his human form wearing nothing but his pants. I looked away embarrassed, hiding my face with my hands. The WW, Dad. Put your shirt on. Lexi grabbed his shirt on the floor and threw it to him. My eyes were still closed when I felt someone else's body heat radiating behind me. We would have helped you. There was no need to pepper spray him. It was Greyson behind me. From the sound of the zipper, I could guess he was putting his clothes on. Little fantasies started to conjure up in my thoughts before I could stop them. My hands were about to move out of my face when, where did my pants go? Leo asked. Greyson hissed behind me and his hand covered my eyes. Leo, cover that us up before I kick it out of here. Oh my poor eyes. Lexi cried. Vincent was still groaning in pain. Leo, as a person of the law, I don't think public nudity would look good on your record. Bennett teased. Oh, shut up, I mean. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't you think I need a little help here? When I shifted, I just threw my clothes without looking. I think it's in the bushes somewhere. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Help Leo find his clothes. Lexi and I will take Vincent to the basement floor. The dungeon. My hand is kind of occupied. Apparently I'm incapable of shielding my own eyes. Lexi and Bennett carried Vincent off disabled into the house. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Remove your hands off me. I attempted to remove his fingers one at a time, but he placed his other hand over the other one. So you can see another man naked. No way. I'm not going to look. I wasn't even planning to. No, he said childishly. How mature. I know. I sensed the smile on his face. Something warm and soft touched the bare part of my neck and I reacted by tensing. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What was that? What was what? That thing I just felt. Did he just kiss my neck? I don't know. He answers sarcastically. I whip around and remove myself from him. The first thing I see is that smug smile on his face that told me he did what I just said he did. You did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. I puffed. Can you just stop being so lovey-dovey? It's literally making me sick. Leo walked up to us with all his clothes on. I could hear you from a few meters away. You two are already starting to sound like an old married couple. Greyson snorted, but a pleased look was plastered on his face. We are nothing close to that. I don't even like him. I glared at Leo. I don't need to be a lawyer to read the lie in that sentence. Before I could object, Greyson cut in and changed the subject. How, Charlotte? My teeth bit my tongue. I wanted to say a million things, but I needed to hear the answer from Leo. She's at the hospital. I was able to subside Vincent Wolf from claiming her. I carried her closer to the house and her brother Trent found her a few minutes after. She has a deep bite mark on her shoulder, deep enough to leave a permanent scar. Her mother was hysteric when she saw her bleeding so much. The news had me trembling. I turned to Greyson. Take me to my family. I punched him on the chest. My mom is worried sick. You stole me and now my sister is hurt. You don't understand how much my mother has already suffered. My father was taken from us at a young age. We went through a lot together and I was always there for her. How can she survive without me? Take me back to my family. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Greyson caught me before I collapsed. My fists continued to punch him on his stomach. Charlotte was in the hospital. I wanted to see her for myself. Leo's jaw clenched. You will see your sister again. My eyes searched his for any sign of a lie. There wasn't. What do you mean? Greyson sighed. When our wolves choose a partner, an intimate partner, we bond to that person for life. Vincent's wolf didn't randomly bite your sister. It's rare for pups to find their mate before shifting, but it happens. Your sister is obviously Vincent's mate, so you're going to steal her too. No, we won't be doing that, Leo explained. She isn't an alpha's mate. Her life isn't threatened like yours, Greyson explained. My heart dropped to my stomach. So what's going to happen now? Charlotte will heal. Psychologically, I don't know how well she will react from what she remembered what happened last night. I have to keep a close watch on her. He was talking about my sister as if she were a lab rat. When Vincent is stable, which can take 3 weeks, he will need to explain to her about all this. When she accepts Vincent and our pack, she can come here and see you. 3 weeks I might see Charlotte. This does little to relax me. My sister is soft-hearted. She might not take this news lightly. I want to be there when Vincent tells her. Greyson and Leo look at each other in uncertainty. You can't go outside. Greyson reminds me. Not even for a few minutes. Leo frowned. We can't risk it and Delpha Bennett would not allow it. Can't she come in here? They remain silent for a few minutes. Then Greyson speaks up. I will have to talk to my father about that. Can she tell our mother about us? Again the two are silent. Are they telepathically talking to each other? Let's take one step at a time. Greyson clears his throat. We still haven't talked about our wedding and, wow, hold up. You think I've agreed to that? No way in hell am I marrying you. Hold my hands out and leave a arm's length distance away from either boys. Marriage is about the consenting union of two persons who agree to share each other's lives with one another. One soul and two bodies. Yes, I am aware. Greyson nodded. No, you are not aware. Get it through your thick skull that I haven't consented to marrying you. Greyson smiled silently to himself, while Leo absently gazed at the sky pretending to be miles away from this conversation. Love can come after the ceremony. I know we are meant for each other. My wolf tells me so. The night I saw you from your bedroom window, I knew you were it for me. There is no one else. My heart fluttered. You can't know that by looking. Love is complex. It doesn't happen like lightning. True. But for wolves we tempt fate by instinct. Have you read the classic tale of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare? I rolled my eyes. Don't get poetic with me. I'm not one of those romantics. All lies. I am one of those romantics. And the way Greyson always stared at me, admiration and pride, had my heart twisting in knots. Was I starting to like him? No, it can't be. Romeo looked at Juliet once and he was in love. They were 16. They were too young to know what love really meant. Puppy love killed them, pun intended. I mentally laughed at my own joke. Greyson smirked. They loved and fought for what they thought was love despite their families' loathe for one another. Look at us, Celeste. You are human and I'm a beast. In society's views, our relationship would be abnormal. There is this pull inside me that tells me one day, you and I will learn to love each other. I'm fighting to get there. But you haven't tired yet. You haven't accepted me and what I can become. I'm monster and your protector, your friend and your someday your lover. We blush at the same time. Leo was totally gone. I think Greyson's speech scared him off. Heck, even I wanted to run for the hills. Talk like this could have women melted in a puddle. What do I say to that? I'm brilliant. He bent down on one knee. Oh my God. What are you doing? You idiot. Get up. He reached into his back pocket. Oh my God. And produced a velvet box. Someone shot me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Don't do this. I pleaded. Do what? He said in confusion. He opened the velvet box and inside I see a gorgeous diamond. Anklet. Leo said that girls love jewelry, especially anklet. He said that it signifies how I think you're beautiful. If you wear it on your left leg it means that you are taken. It was like a bucket of ice water fell on me. It was stupid to think he was going to propose. And Greyson, he literally lives under a rock. Although the gift was thoughtful, I'm not going to wear that piece of jewelry to symbolize his ownership. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. If you really want me to learn how to love you, making me wear jewelry for your expense will not get me there. I'm not wearing it, although I think it is quite beautiful. He looked disappointed. Why not? Why don't you ask Leonardo? He seems to be well educated in the topic of love and relationships. I walk away, towards the house. Where are you going? He asks. To find my sanity. I think I've lost it. He shakes his head. That ton of yours. 3 weeks. If I wait that long, what will lay ahead of me? Chapter 15. 2 days later. Mom smiled at me while stirring a bowl of brownie mix in her hand. Celeste, you have some flour on your face. Tu es agent extraordinaire, moyen noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I touched my cheek and Mom burst out laughing. You'd think I learned it from the first time when she told me I had a stain on my shirt. I looked down and she flicked me in the nose. Trent walked past us and grabbed an apple from the table. You are so gullible. Where are you going? Mom asked him. We both noticed that he had going out clothes on. Hanging with the guys. I'll be back before dinner. Stay safe. Mom called out to him before he left out the front door. Sighing, she set the oven on bake 350 degrees heat to prepare for the batter. It feels like I just blinked for 1 second and all 3 of you are grown up. She looked like she was on the verge of tears. A WWW, Mom. I got up from my chair and wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my head on her shoulder. We may be growing up, but we love you just the same. She rested her head on mine and caressed my cheek. I know. But one day you will fall in love and leave. You 3 will eventually leave the nest. I don't know how well I can handle it. She chuckled tearfully. You're thinking way far ahead, Mom. I'm sure Charlotte will beat me to the altar. That's for sure. Just as I said it, Charlotte's screams are heard from upstairs. We both stop what we're doing and we both run up the stairs. Each step felt like 5 what felt like minutes turn into hours. Why wasn't I getting anywhere? When I looked over my shoulder to see if Mom was trailing me, I didn't see her. She was gone. Looking down, my legs moved as thought I were running on a treadmill going nowhere. Celeste, help. I heard my sister scream again, and this time my attention focused solely on reaching her. When I finally made it to her room, I gasped when I saw Charlotte being pulled out the window by the collar of her shirt. Charlotte. Racing to save her, I bolt towards the window and climb through it. Déjà vu. I take one glance at my surroundings and realize I wasn't home. This wasn't the place I grew up. This isn't my house. I don't live in a house. Where was I? Celeste, save your sister before the beast takes her. A familiar voice exclaimed. Gran. The grandmother I've only seen pictures of screamed from another window. Her head peeking out the sill. Oh, that's right. We're staying at her house. Celeste. Charlotte screamed again. My head twisted to the direction of her voice. When I saw her, my heart stopped. Before I knew it, I felt my body drain of blood, and I began trembling. Laying only a few feet from me was Charlotte, disheveled on the ground, hair crusted with crimson, clothes crumpled with mud, and she had purple bruises forming on her creamy skin. How I got from the ceiling to where my sister was, I don't know. But for some damn reason I couldn't get my feet to move and help her. Charlotte. Charlotte. No matter how much I wanted to be at her side, my feet was glued to the ground. Helplessly, I watched as the floor between us expanded and Charlotte's moved farther away. A figure moved out of the shadows. It was a large black wolf with bright moonlit eyes. It quietly stood behind her, blood dripping from its snout. Get away from her. Charlotte. 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 The creature widened its jaws into a swift bite into my sister's shoulder. No. Charlotte. Charlotte. Hey, what's wrong? A low and husky voice broke into my subconscious. No, get away from me. I whimpered. Something touched my shoulder and my body weathered to avoid another assault. My fingers clutched tightly to the sheets under my chin. My eyes short opened and my heart thundered through my chest. Sweat trickled down my forehead, and when I turned to my side, I felt cool air blow into my damp back. Shivers trailed down. I heard the sound of someone gasping for breath. I was gasping for breath. Celeste, are you all right? The bed shifted next to me and suddenly something, or someone, spoons me from behind and folds an arm around my shoulder. It fills me with a warmth I've not felt since before my dad died. For just a moment, I accept the comfort and I melt into it. You were having a nightmare. It's okay, you're okay. Words couldn't come out my mouth. I was so shaken up, so I responded by placing my hand on the arm over my shoulder. Despite having almost calmed down, I couldn't fall back to sleep. The wolf in my dream was fluffy, there was no doubt about it, remembering those sharp bright eyes. However, that dream Fluffy acted vicious and dangerous. To my agent extraordinaire, Madame Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I felt him raising himself by the elbow. Then his face hovered over the side of my face. The weight of his arm on my shoulder increased and I felt asphyxiated by his presence. I'm here. Don't be scared. He spoke softly. My heart ached strangely. No, I'm not scared anymore. That's good. His hand tightened on my shoulder and he relaxed, nuzzling his face into my nape. He inhaled my scent and blew a warm breath against my neck, making my heart go 100 mph all over again. You smell good, he muttered. I'm slightly horrified, having just sweated a bucket load from that awful nightmare. To my agent extraordinaire, Madame Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He said tiredly. I think he just fell asleep on me, literally. To my agent extraordinaire, Madame Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He wakes up abruptly. What? What's wrong? I wiggled from his hold and he groans low in his throat. Stop that. Not listening, I wiggle some more, attempting to be set free from his embrace. Stop. If you think that will make me let you go, you are sadly mistaken. How did you get in bed with me? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I walked and crawled in. He thought he was being funny. I thought we decided that we sleep in separate rooms. And I swear I locked the door before going to bed. He let go and rolled into his back. You really think I don't know how to pick a lock? I heard you talking in your sleep and figured you were having a nightmare. My wolf became restless. Sensing your distress, he paused for a minute. Do you think you would be willing to tell me what you dreamt about? It seems to worry you still. I don't want to talk about it. Stubbornly, I pulled the blanket away from him. Go back to your room. No, this is my room. This whole floor is mine. It's supposed to be ours, but you haven't yet accepted our relationship status. He moves his body to the opposite direction from me and makes himself comfortable. What is this? What's Facebook? Are you kidding me? Haven't you heard of social networking? At this point, I'm staring at him with my mouth open. I don't use the computer much. I'm too busy with pack business. I have to remind myself that Greyson is isolated from the world. Never mind. Forget we had this conversation and get out of here. I appreciate that you were concerned over me earlier, but I'm fine now. Please, go back to your room. He remained where he lay, not obeying my request. Because of you, I had to spend a night a few feet away from my brothers. What's so bad about the twins? They're just kids. Greyson snorted. Just kids. I could not sleep a wink knowing they were a few feet from me. Those little devils are not just kids. You have not yet seen what they can do, so you can't understand the extent of how crazy they are. I have a younger brother too, and he can be a little terp sometimes, but I wouldn't call him a devil. You are over-exaggerating. You'll believe me when you see it for yourself. I roll my eyes and smack my palm into the base of his hard, muscular back. Get out of my bed. He unwillingly gets up and faces me. Please. You like my bed because it smells like me. You could have slept in another room. I blush. You're so full of yourself. His smell did kind of have a therapeutic aroma that helps lull me to sleep, but that isn't the reason why I choose to sleep in this room. I like your room because it's spacious. The bed is comfortable and I don't have to go outside to use the restroom. Okay, whatever. If you need me, just scream my name. I'm not going to do that. I glare at him. Why are you afraid everyone will hear you? I gasp in outrage. You need to get your head out of the gutter. Hey, I said nothing wrong. You're the one who has dirty thoughts. It's you who needs to get your head out of the gutter. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I toss a pillow at his inflating ego. Get out already and lock the door on your way out. I woke up that morning groggy, because of constant reoccurring bad dreams. They're similar to each other, both frightening and exhausting. Greyson left a note on the bedside table. He obviously snuck in again while I was sleeping. See? Have a lot of work to do. See you later. Grey X. He added an X. Was that supposed to be a kiss? How sappy, but admittedly, I thought it was kind of cute. No one else was home. Everyone must have had something to do, even the twins were gone. The idea of attempting another escape rambled my mind, but I decided against it last minute. What was the point? They probably had the place bugged. There were picture frames in almost every room, except the bathroom. Any of them could have someone watching in surveillance, just like the one in the dungeon. By mid-afternoon, Laura came home first. Good afternoon. I hope, Celeste. Honey, are you all right? You don't look so good. I guess the icebergs are noticeable. Laura worriedly hovers over me like a mother hen. She's been having nightmares a lot these past 2 days. Greyson rubs his hands together as he enters the room. He looks like he had a tiresome day, but he smells freshly bathed. You're back, I noted. He leans forward as if trying to kiss me, but instead moves past my lips and whispers in my ear. Missed me. Noise. It was so lonely in this big house, and I think I got lost twice as many times as I did than when I was in Grand's large house. Laura examines me with a tentative gaze. Dreams are a unique quality being an alpha's mate. A few of us sometimes have premonitions in random times in our lives. More frequently when we haven't mated. They say, it's how the alpha's mate is led to her alpha male. Tell me, Celeste, have you had strange dreams before? She sets a basket full of fruits on the table and washes her hands in the sink. Thinking back, I remembered another time in the past, the night before my dad died. I dreamt that Dad was standing right next to his dog. You have a dog? Greyson asked. Leo didn't report anything about a dog. What kind of reports does Leonardo make for Greyson? It reminded me of Leo's phone call to Greyson the first time I met him. Not anymore. When I was a kid, my dad had this humongous dog, but after Dad died I never saw it again. It wasn't very friendly, so Mom didn't allow it in the house we had before Dad died. We kept it in a dog house on our front yard. It would sometimes leave and we didn't know where it went. I thought it was kind of strange for Dad to keep a stray animal because Mom didn't like it. Greyson pulled out a chair for me to sit and I thank him. You never saw this dog again now. Was it a werewolf? Nora says bluntly. It was a large dog, but I was small then and everything looked big to me. If it turned into a butt-naked man, I never noticed. Funny, did it ever interact with you? Greyson asked. I shook my head. It wasn't very friendly. Remember? It was always just sitting and observing from outside the house. Mom didn't want it inside the house. How Greyson's paced out, and that ended the conversation. Where did everyone go? I asked Laura. They decided to leave the territory. Leave the territory? As in they went through the maze. Bennett took the kids for a hunt. I thought you're not supposed to leave. Greyson cut in. I'm not, but they can. However, they can't head into town. With how small Paradise Valley is, word spreads like a wildfire when strangers come and go. I noticed that. The humans will become suspicious about a mysterious family that disappears into the woods. It will tempt them to explore the forest and into the maze. What are they doing out there? My husband is teaching them about the world outside our territory. It's a learning experience. Laura smiles half-threatedly. Sometimes I forget that Laura was once a normal girl, with a normal life. Do you have a family back there? To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Siblings. Greyson glances at his mother, waiting to hear her answer. Laura's smile appeared slightly sad, and I regretted asking. My parents were actually enthusiastic about the taking. They were paranormal enthusiasts. That's why they moved into Paradise Valley. They were hoping that I was on the Eclipse. I have a little sister, but I heard she left town. A part of me wishes she misses me, but I've always known she wanted me taken to. Our parents tended to favor me because I was molded, since birth, to be the perfect child. I often sympathized my sister for feeling so neglected. She hated me more as we got older. I was 21 when Bennett took me, and I was terrified. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I thought my life would be a lot worse than it already was, but when I fell in love with my husband, I realized life was starting over, and this time I was going to be happy. And I am. Just then a group of people come barging into the room, laughing and chattering. Bennett walks in with both the twins swinging in his arms. I told you not to chase after that mountain lion. How many times have I told you that it's not a toy? Sorry, Daddy. The twins say in a sing-song voice. They don't look sorry at all. Liam fishes into his pocket and produces a toad. Look, Lexi. Look what I got. Lexi looks down and her eyes bulge, seeing the slimy amphibian. Oh, Dad. Get that turpent his frog away from me. She shrieks, and that encourages Liam to shove the toad closer to his sister's face. Lexi is running away from her brother, and Liam chases after her with a maniacal laugh. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. However, looks as innocent as a puppy. Daddy, if I were a good boy, can I keep my new friend? Bennett looks down at his son with a skeptical look. It depends, son. What friend did you make? Caleb reaches into his little backpack and produces a rattlesnake. Oh my God, how did he get that? Laura screams, and immediately Greyson takes action and grabs the snake away from his brother by the head. Caleb cries in anger when Greyson doesn't give his friend back. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Give Mr. Noodles back. He cried louder. This is not a friend, Caleb. It can hurt you, and good friends don't hurt you. That's a life lesson right there. Letting Greyson take care of the situation. Bennett cares for his wife. Hey, sweetheart. How was your day? Bennett pecks Laura in the lips, then nuzzles his cheek against her in an intimate manner. I look away, embarrassed for having seen the private moment. Laura kisses him back and tells him about all the fruits and vegetables that she picked from her garden. Later in the day, I am sitting with Lexi watching a movie and Greyson is God knows we're doing more pack business. Probably more paperwork that Bennett assigned him. Looks like you started to settle in. Lexi mutters, cupping a popcorn in her mouth. Not really. I'm still worried about my sister. Lexi stops eating and clasps her hand around mine. Shit happens. My face drops and I give her a WTF look. Oops. Scratch that. I didn't mean it the way I said it. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Can she be any more ridiculous? What I was trying to say is, things happen for a reason and in the end it will all work out. So just hang in there, Celeste. Everything will piece together like a jigsaw puzzle. She offers me a smile. I smile back and say, you're full of shit. She bursts out laughing and we both laugh for no apparent reason. I can't cheer up a person to save my life. I'm so glad I wasn't born as the oldest son. Greyson has to do all those things, a leader, a peer mentor, a diplomat, etc., etc. When I watch my brother work, I get a headache just thinking about all those big words he has to read. I'm so glad I have more of life than he does. But I feel guilty sometimes that he missed out a lot with all the responsibility in his hands. Lexi's guiltiness must be contagious because suddenly I feel like a total for being mean to Greyson sometimes. Lexi pokes my side, grabbing my attention. At least I cheering you up. What's my score? I give you a B for effort. You suck. She throws a kernel at me. I chuckle and throw it back at her. We start a popcorn kernel war. Winner gets bragging rights. It's an all-out battle until someone walks into the room and clears their throat. Lexi hides behind a pillow thinking it was a father preparing to scold her. What are you two fighting about? Greyson walks around the coach and I move over to leave space for him next to me. This surprises him. Thanks, he says and sits down next to me, laying his arm around my shoulders. Hey, just because I gave you privileges to sit next to me, doesn't mean you can touch me. He ignores me and leans back. Lexi frowns. Bro, you have a huge ass. I'm squished over here. Then move. He takes a piece of popcorn off the coach and throws it at her. You two will have to clean this before Dad sees it. He's going to be mad with this mess. What are you two? Food fights are in at your, says the guy who threw the popcorn at me. Lexi smirks. Chapter 16 Charlotte's POV the day after Vincent bit her. Why am I so cold? My neck feels like a wood plank and I have a tsunami headache crashing through my skull. Charlotte. Baby. You're awake. Mum's quivering voice made me turn my eyeballs to the side. Neck pains, remember. We make eye contact and she gasps like a woman who just found out she won the $1 million lotto. Trent. Your sister is awake. She kneels by my bedside and holds onto my forearm. Her eyes are bloodshot and her face is painstakingly pale like a paper sheet. She looked twice as horrible as yesterday. I kid you not, Mom. My throat is so dry it's hard to speak. My baby girl. She cries into my arm. Regarding the room, I realize we were at the hospital. How'd I get here? The last thing I remember was chasing Vincent into the woods. My brain flashes outlandish images of Vincent turning to a werewolf. I must have fallen on my head before having nightmares. It explains the headache, Mom. I reach for her hand, but the IV needle on the back of my palm prevents me from moving my arm any further. I look at it and feel squeamish. Hate. Needles. Trent sits on the other side of the bed and covers the tape terrier, hiding the IV from my sight. Like Mom, he looks forlorn and deep eye bags mark under his eyes. Don't look if you know you're not going to like it. How are you, sis? His voice expressed concern, but his rigid posture meant he had a lot more serious things to say, but was restraining himself for Mom's sake. Before I could tell him how sore I felt, Mom interjects. Charlotte, what in the world made you think of going outside? With what happened too? She chokes on her breath and paused for a second to hold in her emotions. The door opens and a nurse walks in and Mom starts stalking. You're awake. The nurse walks over to monitor and checks my vital status. She takes down a few notes and introduces herself. My name's Marlene. I'm your nurse for this afternoon. Are you in pain, honey? Would you like me to give you some pain meds? The doctor said if you woke up in pain I could administer a small dosage to make you feel at ease. That animal bite was pretty deep. I'm sorry, darling, but you're going to have a scare there. My mouth drops and I kink my neck to see the wound, but forget I had stiff neck. I groan when the sudden pain hits me. Trent curses under his breath. Sometimes I feel like you're the younger sibling. He gets to his feet and helps me adjust the pillow so that I don't hurt my neck again. I watch him as he does this and I feel so well taken care of by my little brother. It almost makes me emotional. If Celeste were here she would think some alien took over our little brother's body and replaced him with this caring stranger. I stubbornly attempt to swat his hand and tell him I didn't need help, but he groaned in annoyance. Charlotte, please. My stomach twist. Charlotte, please. Vincent said the same thing last night before jumping off the porch. The recognition made me somewhat nauseated, likely due to my headache and shock. Last night was real. Did I really see Vincent turn into a wolf? It sounds so crazy. Or maybe I'm already going crazy. I blink a couple times hoping my brain would work past the throbbing and tell me, and to haste to think straight. Nothing clears up. Vincent's burning, the night chill prickling my skin, the pain of his fingernails digging into my skin, and the snarls from deep within his throat. It was real. And if all that wasn't evidence enough, the pain on my shoulder is proof of last night. My face contorted into an image of distress. Trent looks at me quizzically. Nurse, I think she needs those pain meds. Nurse Marlene awaits my consent. You're the patient. I can't just hand you medication if you don't actually need it. Is the pain unbearable? The shoulder's a little painful, but the neck and the headache, it's like a 6.0 earthquake. Nurse Marlene laughs. First time I heard a patient describe pain like that. I'll tell your doctor and come back in a sec with your medication. She left and the room was quiet again, except for the beeping on the EKG monitor. Charlotte. Mom said softly, tell us why you went outside. We just want to hear a perfectly good reason why you would endanger yourself. Her eyes are directly on me. They wouldn't believe me if I told the truth. They would think I'm crazy. My only option was to lie, and that was something I was never good at. But I had to. In this family, we never lie to each other. But this once, I hope to God I can pull it off. I went out because, come on, what to say? Lying is harder than I thought. To my agent extraordinaire, Lycan Love, heartthrobs saints your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Or I thought I saw. Celeste, I'm going to regret this. I thought I saw her in the woods and I was hoping to chase after her. She's gone insane. She's seeing things. Trent blurted. It must be the lack of sleep. We all have been walking around like zombies for the past couple days since Celeste disappeared, and I think we've hit our limit. Mom's an emotional wreck and I feel like I've been getting non-stop panic attacks. Mom's brows arched so high. For a second I thought they disappeared into her hairline. Trent, you've been having panic attacks. Way to go, bro. Now Mom has another thing to worry about. Trent looks like he regrets what he said. It's not as bad as it sounds, Mom. They last for 3 minutes. Or maybe less. I can handle them. They started happening a little while after Celeste went missing. I think it's because of all the caffeine I drank from Gran's cupboard. Did a bomb just go off? You drank your grandmother's coffee. Do you not know how strong that is? A person with a possible cardiovascular disease shouldn't even drink that stuff. It increases their chance of a heart attack. But does my mom listen? No. She does whatever the hell she wants and drinks that crap like water. Trent, you are not allowed to drink coffee anymore. When we get home, I'm going to throw it out. Throw what out? Gran walks into the room holding the room curtain wide open using her cane. One hand, she had stacks of plastic-wrapped muffins in a salty flavor. Hey honey, how's the freakishly large hickey on your neck? I remember when I was your age, I stopped listening, afraid that my ears would hear something inappropriate and have more images in my head that I didn't want to see or believe. Mom stomps towards Gran, eyes focused on the pile of food. Those are all carbohydrates. You eat all those and your blood sugar will skyrocket to the moon. Give it to me. I'm going to go downstairs and donate them to the visitors sitting in the waiting room. Gran looks appalled and shakes her head like a defiant child. I paid for these and I'm going to eat them. Not in my watch, you're not. Mom takes a nosedive to grab the food. Gran hits her with her cane and she bolts out the room. I hear people yelp outside as she shoves her way past them. Mom clutches her side and groans. Crazy old bat. If you don't stop running, I'm going to replace all the food in the house with prunes. If only I weren't temporarily incapacitated. I would have loved to see my 65-year-old grandma running. Mom, are you okay? Trent asks and he helps her get on her feet. What's your sister? I'm going to handle your grandmother and we're going to have a strict talk on nutrition when I get back. Mom briskly walks out and Trent and I are alone. Trent gazes at me with an unyielding look. I knew a lecture was coming and it irritated me that it was going to come from my little brother. Just say it. Say what? He was playing his execution roll down exactly to a T. You're going to lecture me. Am I? I groan. Out with it, Trent. I know what you're going to say. He sat down on his chair again and put his feet up on my gurney bed. He didn't even care that the hospital staff could walk in and see his rude behavior. That I acted irresponsibly and you're mad at me for my idiotic actions. What's the point of me yelling at you when you obviously know what I'm going to say? There's no need to waste my breath. However, you left out the part that you worried us sick to death. Charlotte, next time you decide to take 10 years out Mom's life, you should warn us in advance. The urgent need to pout had me well along the line of sudden tears. IWW little bro. Were you concerned about me? You make me want to cry. Newsflash, sis. You're already crying. He chuckled and hid his face from me in embarrassment. Are you blushing? Trent. I teased him. Shut up. He folded his arms and leaned back on his chair. A knock paused our conversation. Can I come in? Under the curtain. I see a black pair of pants and male's leather boots, yes. I respond back. The curtains draw open and I meet a pair of familiar blue eyes. Leonardo. I greet, but I feel a sense of apprehension knowing he was Vincent's brother. Charlotte, I heard what happened. I'm glad that you are okay. He has his police uniform on, badge and name tag shining like a plate of gold. Why are you here? Don't you have important business to attend to? Trent mutters, strangely a bit belligerent that it shocks me. Trent, don't be rude. Leonardo looks at Trent with a blank expression on his face before smiling sympathetically at me. I'm sorry to bother you when you should be getting some rest after the ordeals you have been going through, but I'm here to write a statement on your case. We need to know about the appearance of the animal. I need to inform the ranger so that he can warn people of animal attacks. Trent got up and stood almost level to Leonardo, except he was a couple inches shorter. This town should have already made provisions to keep animals away from inhabited areas. My sister shouldn't have been attacked by an animal in our backyard. Leonardo didn't flinch at Trent's accusation. It's an unfortunate event that is of no one's control. And I'm sorry that Charlotte, you were the victim. His sharp eyes narrowed on me and I shivered at the resemblance to Vince's eyes. Trent, is it all right if I speak to Charlotte alone now? Something in my gut told me there was something strange about Leonardo and it wasn't because Vince is his brother. I'm not leaving this room, Trent snapped. I clasped Trent's hand and he held it in a tight grip. I'm only going to ask her a few questions, Leo said carefully. She is not willing to answer them. She's in pain and the nurse will be coming in soon to give her pain medication. Trent scowls. I asked her to give me a few minutes. The two stared at each other as if they were testing each other's patience. I doubt Leo was leaving until he talked to me. Sighing, I raised my head self-assuredly. Trent, let him do his job. Trent gave a weird look. But, hang out in the hall. If I need you, I'll call. Trent made an incredulous expression before making a sneering remark at Leonardo. If you stress her out, I'm going to do a number on you, threatening an officer. Leonardo stated. Trent, please, stand outside and don't eavesdrop. He snorted and left. You've got a great brother. Enthusiasm, Leonardo smirked. Is that a compliment? Or an insult? Because if it's the latter, I'm not afraid to get arrested for kicking your ass. No one insults my brother, but me. You and Celeste are definitely related. Taking Trent's previous seat, Leonardo reaches into his pocket for a notepad. I eyed the gun strapped to his belt and my heart pounded harder. I'm sure the EKG picked it up, but Leo doesn't. How are you feeling? Is that one of your interview questions? No, I'm just asking as a friend. Are we friends? I don't know squat about him, except that he's Vincent's brother. As you can see, I'm not doing so well. I motion to the bandaged shoulder. He nods. How's the wound? He points to my neck, stitched and I'm told it will scar. He nods again and takes down a few notes. What could he be writing? He's probably doodling some picture of me and not really listening. So it happened last night. Besides, your brother may be turning into a werewolf and biting my shoulder. I got attacked by an animal. Not again. What did this animal look like? Handsome, charming, sweet, until he bit me and turned into a polymorphic man-wolf. It was hairy and had sharp claws. Oh, he wasn't taking this interview seriously. I could tell. What person is their right mind would tilt their head the way Leonardo just did? I don't feel like the person sitting next to me is a real cop. He's way too young. Mom was right. What are you playing at, Leo? You're not actually taking notes, are you? He angles his pad enough for me to see it. And sure enough, I see little doodles. But above it I read, your brother is eavesdropping. It wasn't a surprise. Every hospital room had curtains and a glass door for privacy, or isolation. Leonardo could have closed the glass door, but I guess he was being courteous of my fretfulness being alone in the room with him. You can close the glass door. Are you sure? He walks up and closes it. From enthusiasm, from the bottom of the curtain, I could see Trent's leg standing behind the glass. And I swear I thought I heard Trent curse from the other side. Your brother is overprotective. It's a side of him that I've never really witnessed before. Is that so? Was all he said. His relaxed tone makes me want to throw a glass of water in his face, and out of the blue I'm majorly pissed off. Steam must be smoking out my ears because I explode. I'm freaked out of my mind after what happened the other night, and I can't even comprehend what I saw. I don't know who to tell the truth to because what happened was something out of a fiction novel. I take a deep, long and steady breath before saying, Vincent did this to me, or I think he did. I'm not really sure how, but I'm sure your brother is involved. And whatever shit he conjured up to make me think hocus pocus, it isn't funny. When I see him, He can't get past it to me to pull near me. I'm telling him our relationship, or whatever we had. Hold on a minute. This is the part where he tells me I'm insane, I need to check into an asylum. You can't break up with my brother. What? No, you're delusional. Or stay away from my brother. You can't with Vincent. He needs you. For what? A plaything. And let's rewind. You are well aware what your brother is. What he can change into. A werewolf. He finishes my sentence and I feel like I've joined a group of pseudoscience nerds who also believe mermaids are real. They better not. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. At least that's cleared up. He's the psychopath, not me. I'm tempted to scream and demand this nut out of my hospital room. Why aren't you freaking out about this? He seems surprised. Give me a moment. I'll show you how freaked out I am. You want me to? I've just about done with all the craziness. If you show me a fire-breathing dragon, I'd name it Toothless. That mouth of yours is so much like her too. Who are you yapping about? Nothing. He crooned, then looked down at his wristwatch. Time's running out. I have work to do and my boss is a bit of a grouch. I'm going to say this quick, so pay attention. Wait. Shut up for a sec. He covered my mouth with his hand. My brother is a werewolf. You are his mate. Don't ask, because there's too much to tell you and so little time. What I will tell you next, you have to keep a secret. If you don't keep your mouth shut, you won't get to see Celeste again. My eyes widened and my hands grasped his arm, trying to pry his palm from my mouth. He knows where Celeste is. You kidnapped her. My scream came out as a muffle, because his hand pressed against my lips. Keep your voice down. You kidnapped my sister. I repeated again. It sounded like a muffin was stuffed in my mouth. Stop it. If you persist to disrupt me, you will never know about Celeste's whereabouts. That shut my trap. In 2 weeks from today, Vincent will be back. He has more control of himself. He will take you out and you will let him. If you don't go with him, you won't see Celeste again. Do you understand? I think I lost him at Werewolf. Can you repeat that again? Don't let the story end. Subscribe to continue our Wolfpack legend.